Well, once again, it's senior citizens yelling at the clouds.
Wait a minute. You know what? I guess, yeah, congratulations. Happy birthday, pal.
Right, we both hit the magic 65.
You know, the highlight for me now, as often as I use it, is I now get a discount on Washington State ferries.
That's nice.
That's
that actually works for you, yeah.
Nice deal for me. The best and longest senior discount I've gotten was, I think, when I turned 57, I became eligible for Senior Sunday at Island Herb.
That is a good thing, man.
And they always ask the same thing. They go, now, because they do a military, they go, are you former military? And I go, no, but I am older than 57. And they go, all right. You're ready, pal.
There are some decent things about growing old.
Yeah.
A handful.
I remember my friend Jeff was just over the moon when he turned 55 and could order off the senior menu at Denny's.
Things like that only last about a couple of weeks. Then you're like, it's not that great.
It is right. I'd still rather be 27.
Right, exactly.
Well, happy birthday! You made it to 65. I saw
surprised.
Great photo of you with a cake. I mean, I guess I don't think I'm surprised. I know you got a lot of challenges, but doesn't feel like you're near the end. You're not near the end, are you? I know I have to get my affairs in order, do I?
I feel really shitty at times, I guess, but no, I don't think I'm quite near the end yet, but who knows?
You know, last week when we were working here on PuckMax, the worldwide Jason Puckett Broadcasting Network, we got talking quickly, and then we got off the topic for some reason about Ozzy and Dave Parker.
Right.
Both were Parkinson's guys. And it got me wondering, you've been so open about this, but it got me wondering, like, you see that, is there inspiration there? Here's guys that, got enough, more, or is it trepidation? I mean, how do you feel when you see someone who shares this nasty thing you've got?
I would say that I feel grateful that their suffering is over. Right. Probably more than anything, I feel, it's great they were able to do what they did and they kept it going, and that could be inspirational for everyone. But I know that it's probably better for them that it's over, because it's no one's going to fool you, and no one's going to tell you this is actually a good thing in any way. Right. It's not. And Ozzy probably had it for 15, 16 years, I think. I mean, I think he just revealed it the last 4 or 5 years of his life, and it's whenever anyone gets about 7, 8, 9, 10 years in on it, depending on when you started, things are a lot tougher for you. So, and I'm coming up on year number 8 right now, and I kind of have looked at as an example as Jim Marsh, our old friend,
right,
who got it diagnosed the same age I did, 58. He lived till 71, I think, is when he passed on, and it got rough for him at the end. So, when those times come, they come. I mean, I'm not at the point where I necessarily fear it or anything like that. It is what it is, and I've been living with it for a long enough time that I'm just ready to just take whatever comes at this point.
Right. Well, you've done a remarkable job. You're an inspiration. I'm in all honesty, to deal with it, because it's real easy for me to say that, but I don't have to look at it every single day and deal with it. And
I appreciate you saying it, and I never mind talking about it, because it's unfortunately it is still growing. I mean, it's every 9 minutes, every 7, 8 minutes, something like that. There's a new case diagnosed, so it's we're fighting an uphill battle on it. But that's why I kind of try and do my little fundraiser around this time of the year for APDA locally. That they'll walk and try and raise some money for them, and that's kind of what I try and do, is just try and get some good out of it for other people. You wouldn't wish this on your worst enemy.
Well, you've done a great job of doing that, of getting the word out and everything, and for people tuning in, it's now Health Talk on Groz. Now that we're both 65, there's really no reason to do anything but Health Talk.
If you don't like it, screw you.
Yeah, right. Next week we have a live colonoscopy. Not one of us.
Oh, wow!
Just some poor guy we dragged in off the street.
Well, no, there are much more fun things we can talk about.
How about the last week? When we talked a week ago, we didn't know that Eugenio Suarez was definitely coming home, or coming back, I should say, and he has. And it was a great weekend. You take 3 or 4 from Texas, yet another team that came in like, wow, they're really hot right now, and the M's cooled them off. It sure feels like we're teed up here for about 8 weeks of really fun baseball.
Well, I think the other thing that's jumping out at me is that how wide open it has become.
Yeah.
What a different look it has than the start of the season, when everyone assumed the Dodgers and Yankees were inevitable. And, the Dodgers are actually playing pretty good in the National League. But, I mean, Milwaukee's had the best record there for a while, so they're not necessarily crushing anyone. And the Yankees have fallen apart. They just got swept for the first time by Miami in their history. Miami, by the way, is tied with Milwaukee for the best record over the past 45 games. They're at 500. They're a team that makes the postseason. They're going to be really tough on people.
Yeah,
they're going to be really tough on people. So, I think seeing the Yankees fall like they have, and Cleveland never materialize, and Detroit really stumbling as they did coming out of the break. I sit here, Gans, and I have a friend, Jim Jones, down in San Diego, asked me if I thought the Mariners were for real. And I said, in a word, yes. I think this is their best shot at the World Series since '01.
They've had for the last several years, as you and I have talked about, they've had the pitching. The pitching is lined up. Now, the bullpen, I know it's too bad about Thornton, but I think they're okay, and starting pitching, they're great. And it's just been a matter of, can they put together some consistent offense to put pressure on the other teams? And with the lineup they've got now, I was wondering about this, Dave. The lineup they've got now, we're all hopeful they get to the postseason, they get to the World Series, they finally break through. If by some wild chance they don't, what will fan reaction be? Because you can't say they didn't go for it this year. You can be frustrated and all that, but how do you think people would react if, let's just say, Houston stays hot and the M's and they just end up a game shy again
of making the postseason?
Of you making the postseason.
Wow.
I mean, I don't think that'll happen, but I wonder how people will react, since they did in fact go for it. They went and made some moves.
I hate to say it, but I think the negative energy would probably be turned on Dan Wilson. I just kind of think that, the problem is that negative energy is not going away if you don't make it the playoffs, and you don't want to blame DePoto because he did do what he was supposed to do. That manager didn't know what he's doing.
Right.
Unfortunately, and Dan's a first-time manager, so he's making some mistakes as well as having a lot of good things happen as well. But, you're absolutely right about, they went out and didn't get the best hitter at the deadline. They got the best two hitters at the deadline.
Right.
By everyone's measuring stick. And, so they have, in fact, done what I think they needed to do, to give this team every opportunity to win. It's up to them now. And look, as much as we've been paying attention to Raleigh and whatnot, Rosarina is still hitting. What about Julio, who is disappointing, kind of, but it's 4 straight years of 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases to start his season, his career, which no one has ever done. He's playing really well right now. So, I think they're in the groove. But you're right, Houston's playing well. Look, we saw Texas here. That was razor thin, man. They could have easily lost 3 out of 4 against these guys. These guys are really good. So I agree with you. It's going to be a great 8 weeks.
I think, I think they're going to make the postseason, and
right.
I would go the other way. Let's say they roar to the AL West title. Suddenly, our guy Wilson may get some Manager of the Year consideration. I love the thought of somebody going into Dan's office and saying, "Hey, did you hear Groz and Gas said it's going to be your fault if they don't make the playoffs?"
Right?
What?
Well, hold on, Dan. That's not what we mean.
That's not what we mean. No, it's and Julio. I keep thinking, we talked to Larry about this a couple weeks ago. He's Aaron Judge's age, basically, when Judge came up. That was in May. But the point being, he's still so young, and he acts young. And I mean that in a complimentary way. He looks like a kid out there. He looks more like a kid than the kid looked when the kid was the kid. And that thing yesterday, I was like, think about this for a minute. Everybody gets on this guy. He makes bad decisions at the plate. Yeah, he does. He sometimes looks like he got twisted around that one ball yesterday. Okay. No one in history has ever had a career start like this. No. It's incredible, just what the future may bring for this club, and what the immediate future may bring, which is the most exciting baseball we've seen in a long time.
You've heard me talk about it a lot. I believe certain things got to happen for you to have the special year in Major League Baseball, and you got to have stars doing what they're supposed to do. You need a couple guys popping up with career years. And, you need to have some good luck. And so far, the good luck is, I'm going to say it's there because they've come back from the injuries they had early on. You've got the guys having career seasons. You've got a lot of the right ingredients going right now for this club. So, I think it's, it's funny. I did a thing on Twitter, just kind of maybe it was August 2nd in 95, which is 30-year anniversary of. We're not going to get too carried away with this, but August the 2nd, the Mariners were 13 games behind the Angels.
Yeah,
there were 3 games under 500. Ken Griffey was a month away from coming back. It was not going to happen. It was over and done with. And it wasn't. As it turned out, it wasn't over and done with. And they went on this great August run with Dan Wilson as part of it then, and is a part of something that's going on right now. Not the same thing. I understand that, but it's looking at that year. Reminds me to remind everyone that a lot can still happen.
Yeah,
a lot of really good things can still happen. So. I think they're in great shape. I think it was a great weekend series, and I think it's going to be exciting. And I'm not going to be on management if they don't make it. They've done what they needed to do. It'll have
Right.
to be on the players or someone else.
Yeah, well, Lou said it to you in '95, where he said, "My job's done. It's up to the players now. We've gotten them all the help." And
Yep.
it's a little bit of an overstatement, but the point being, yeah, at some point, it does come back to the guys between the lines, and when you're a manager or a general manager, you can't say that as breezily, but as fans, you should say, "Yeah, no, it's up to them now."
Yep.
You guys are the reason you guys are going to the postseason or not going to the postseason. It's
Right.
up to you to deliver. You've got all the protection in the lineup you wanted now. You've got veteran leadership. You've got young guys stepping up. You got a manager that seems to have a pretty good hold on the reins. It's up to you guys now to make this happen, and it's going to be fun to watch them. They've got an interesting stretch here, and I know this is a fool's errand, but the schedule turns real favorable for about 10 days here, and in baseball, that often doesn't matter.
Right.
But if they can keep the pedal down right now, this seems like a time where they can make some hay against the likes of the White Sox and Tampa Bay and that kind of guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be crazy. I mean, it's really like we talked about at the start here. It's a lot of opportunity. It's much more wide open feeling than it was at the start of the year, and that lends itself to good baseball, I think.
Groz, speaking of good baseball, did you enjoy the Speedway Classic on Saturday night and Sunday afternoon? I felt bad for all the preparation that went into that. And then they get the most NASCAR thing ever, a long rain delay that just pisses everybody off and leaves everyone. But I was glad they got it in, and it looked, I don't know, to me it looked like a pretty fun event. I thought it was a cool thing.
Agreed completely. It was a great idea. They should keep doing it. I think they will. And it was a lot of fun to watch, and those are just good things to do. I mean, this is an interesting trend that some of the sports are doing right now, and I'm all for it. I mean, I think it just anything you can do to make it look a little different, feel a little different, I'm for it. So I liked it. I liked how it looked. I mean, they. Geez, if they had filled up all those seats, what could they have had there? 150,000 or something like that?
Yeah.
Went up with 85, which beats the old record of the 54 Indians, by the way, for a regular season game in the Mistake by the Lake at 84,000, believe it or not, in 54. So that record was broken. The Coliseum, I think, had 90,000 for a preseason game when the Dodgers first moved down to L.A. But 85,000 people there. It was a wild sight, and it was very cool idea. I hope they keep it up.
Yeah, I think the idea of, what occurred to me is maybe that's a way to juice up the All-Star game, is to have it at a different facility, have the All-Star game, which is truly an exhibition game. I mean, I did feel, a little bit like, this is tough it's August, and, if you're the Reds, you're trying to win no matter where the game is played. So I don't think it matters, but I don't know. I'm with you. I hope they keep trying. There's a lot of other cool facilities they could try it at, and don't overdo it. I think the NHL's been a little guilty of overdoing it. They've got like 6 or 8 of them every year now. Whatever. They're making money, and I guess that's a big part of it. But I like I'd forgotten about the cornfield game out in Iowa and how cool that was. The game in was it Birmingham, where they played in the oldest park in the country?
Yep.
The old Negro Leagues park there. Yeah, it was. I thought it looked really awesome, and I thought it was great cross promotion primarily for NASCAR, because there were probably a lot of people, baseball fans, that tuned in and said, "Wow, look at this place," and it worked out. Hey, speaking of cross promotion in NASCAR, I've got a cool little hydro story. I don't know how many people paid attention to the hydros over the weekend. I kind of miss. And we got here right at the end when they were a big deal, and I just think
we got to broadcast them too. We got to be a part of it. We got to have some fun with it.
Yeah, you got to have some fun with it. Try being the anchor for 7 hours, pal, with O'Day drifting in and out of consciousness. No, it was, I found myself yesterday watching, and they didn't seem like they had a great crowd, and there certainly was not a lot of media attention. I feel bad just because I wish there's a way to change that, but I don't think it's any one thing or person's fault. I just think
things have moved on.
Tastes have moved on, and there's not that. But there was a cool story Friday that I wish that this is something I wish I could have been out there broadcasting and doing this. Jimmy Johnson, the 7-time NASCAR champion, came up to Seattle and drove the Atlas van lines, the old 1979, 1980 Atlas van lines that Bill Muncy drove to a championship, and drove it 6 laps around the lake, and everybody said it looked fantastic. Well, there's more to this story. Let me tell you the rest of the story, Groz. 1979, Jimmy Johnson's 4 years old, and for his birthday, his dad takes him to see hydroplane racing in San Diego. Among the boats they see that day is the Atlas van lines.
Wow.
And the Atlas van lines, they're down by the shore, and the Atlas van lines like breaks down, goes dead in the water, and it's drifting towards the shore. And if it gets all the way to the shore, it'll do damage to the bottom. So they're basically telling fans who are there, walk out and push this boat back out into deeper water. So it won't, classic, like no safety concerns at all. Just the boat's dead. So Jimmy Johnson's dad puts 4-year-old Jimmy on his shoulders.
Oh my God.
They walk out to the boat. Bill Muncie's like, hey, let me see that kid. And takes the kid off his dad's shoulder, puts him on back of the boat. There's a photo of this. There's a photo of 4-year-old Jimmy Johnson sitting on the back of this boat. Now, flash forward to last Friday. Actually, I don't know, flash forward to a certain point in time in the last year or so. Jimmy met Chip Hanauer somewhere. And they start talking. Chip says, is that story true? It's a legendary story. He says, yes, it's absolutely true. Chip says, you got to come up. I can get you on that boat. I can get you a ride on the boat. And that is how Jimmy Johnson ends up spinning 6 exhibition laps. I think that's like the coolest story. And
Me too.
I mean, what a neat, and Jimmy Johnson, again, there's 3 guys that have won 7 championships in that sport. Petty, Earnhardt, and Jimmy. And for him to get out and get to do that, and he talked about, he thought the boat racing, what surprised him is how physical it is, how much you're bouncing around. As opposed to NASCAR, where you're kind of strapped in right now. You're not.
You're locked in. Your head's locked in. Everything.
I like that story though, and I hope the people that went out, I hope they had fun. I say I wish they were a little bigger, and I fondly recall the broadcast days because goddamn, we'd spend the whole day with Pat O'Day, and he was just such a great guy. I miss him every year. So, but that's I thought you'd like that story.
That's a great story, man, and it's. Yeah, that's the sort of thing that would, I don't think it will ever bring it back to where it was, but it's the sort of thing that feels good about it and keeps it going.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because it's a sport that has battled that, on the one hand, they battle they always want to do the nostalgia, but you're trying to sell the current people now. And again, I just think the tastes have moved on. Sports, there's nothing except for the NFL that seems guaranteed to stay at the top forever. And
we're talking about it, you're making an 8-hour commitment as opposed to thinking about it as a day on the lake. You think, wow, 8 hours? Yeah, the different mentality of thinking about those things nowadays.
Yeah, and I was watching the telecast yesterday. At one point, they're showing the Blue Angels, but you can't see them because it was that hazy blue sky and the planes. I don't know if you know they're blue. That's why they call them the Blue Angels. You couldn't see anything for a little while. And I was like, this is just not great TV. But what more can you do? As you and I both know, those broadcasts are. It's juggling a lot of balls. Yeah, open-ended is a good way.
Open-ended.
Good way of putting it. What I say, did you see Luka Doncic signed a contract yesterday? He's going to be, I think, the 17th player to make in excess of $50 million next season.
Wow.
Just 1 year. He signed a $161 million 3-year extension. And I just, again, I feel like all of my 65 years, I don't see how this is financially sustainable. The NBA, there's something, there's 40 or 50 players making over $40 million next season.
Yeah, that's why I think they're gung-ho about expansion or gung-ho about starting up a whole other league. Starting up, get the European thing going. They need more money. There's no way they can be supporting this gas.
Right.
There's just no way.
And you see that, and it does lend to the story we've kind of beaten into the ground. But the NBA owners, on the one hand, you can say, why are you so greedy? Why don't you just divide every dollar by 32 instead of 30? And it's because that's real money. I'm paying Luka $161 million. I don't want to divide it by 2 more teams now. I want my full 1/30th share.
And for the Lakers, it makes sense to do a basketball sense. He's the team now.
Yeah.
LeBron's staying, but it made the transition. So. That's unbelievable, man. Again, 17 players making $50 million.
It's crazy. And
don't see how it works.
Him and LeBron, that'll be an interesting thing to watch this year because I am not on the LeBron hater train that a lot of people are on.
Me neither. He's awesome.
He is now at a point where he's going to have to probably step back a little bit if the team is going to be its most successful. And I don't know. He's been able to do everything else in his career. We'll see if he can do that. And I don't even know how that'll look. But I'll be interested to see what kind of success those two can have because Doncic is incredible. When he's healthy and good, he's really hard to handle.
Yeah, he is. And they believe it down in L.A. too. So we will see. And speaking of L.A., well, no, it's actually speaking of Las Vegas, isn't it? The Las Vegas Raiders are starting. The NFL season starting here Thursday.
And
Thursday, yes.
and if there's an exhibition game I'm interested in a little more than the usual one,
It's Thursday.
Just to see the gum-chewing 72-year-old youthful coach of the Las Vegas Raiders making his way into the place where he had a lot of success. I think this is the best. I saw Jeff Jagger at Sunny Six Killers golf tournament. He and I were talking for a few minutes. He was funny. I said, I think your guys are going to be pretty fun this year. He goes, I don't know. He's had the Raider burned into him for too long, but he loves Pete being there, obviously, and whether they can squeeze another great year out of Geno or not. That's to me is a really intriguing story.
Oh, I think so too. I mean, Pete Carroll was. We know what he was here. We know he hadn't lost any energy. I still think he relates to players very well. I think, like anyone else, you're the same place for a long time. He can get a little bit old, but he is rejuvenated by the new place. He's a perfect fit for Vegas. I mean, he's just a perfect fit for the attitude there, I think. I think I'm with you. I think they're going to be good right away. I think they're going to be competitive right away. Now, great, another word. I mean, they got a pretty decent division they're playing in, for crying out loud, with Kansas City, to say the very least. But, it gives teams an X factor. We saw it here, and it's going to feel nostalgic for sure. But this was the coach who had the most success here.
Right.
I mean, he was the one who had the most, took him the farthest, and it's going to be weird to see him on another sideline. Frankly, it is, and I just I don't know how much you're following him. I'm following him, online, whatnot, and seeing the same sort of stuff going on down there. They're having a good time.
Right.
You just know what the environment is like down there, and it's to be envied, I think, by a lot of teams. Hopefully not this one, but Pete created a culture that won up here, and I think he can do it down there too.
Well, I think what the players can see is what you just said exactly, because when he first got here, I remember thinking, pros aren't going to buy into this rah-rah enthusiasm. They're just not.
He was a failed coach, by the way. He coached twice in the NFL and wasn't any good.
Now in Vegas, when he's rah-rahing his way through a practice, they can go, hey, you know what? Look what this guy did up in Seattle. There's no reason to think this can't work here, even though it sounds and feels a little corny, but he's brilliant at it. Hey, were you surprised that John Schneider got a contract extension? The timing of this, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's like, I think maybe I'd wait and see how this year plays out with, your quarterback that you went and got. It's the second year of your new coach. Let's see how everything goes, and then we'll talk an extension. And that's always the deft little line you're walking, right? On the one hand, you're like, well, come on, show me you love me now versus wait till I do something. But I'm not sure I would have done that yet. It's not my money, so I don't care. But
well, I mean, I can see why they did it. I mean, you can make a case for it pretty easily. I mean, he's been a very successful GM here, and it's not to be argued. They went 10-7 last year after making the transition. I think because I think there's been a thought that isn't the team going to be up for sale in a couple of years? And this is just
right.
Just speaking out of turn. There's not any inside knowledge of anything, but there's been that kind of thought, and you think that a lot of times you want things lined up, so we're going to have their own particular people in place. So yeah, I mean, I'd say I'm a little surprised, but like most things in the world, I can always find the other side of it. I can certainly look at this and see why they did it, because look, you got to be consistent. You're not going to win by constantly turning things over, and so don't constantly turn them over.
Right, and you're right. If you're in the early, and they may be in the early process, I would stress, because I'm like you, I don't know anything about this, but if they're thinking of selling, having your ducks in a row, it just means whoever's buying it doesn't have to come in immediately and make big decisions. Like, okay, look, you can come in if you want to get rid of him because you want to bring in your own guy. But he's set for a few years, so it's not a fire you have to worry about when you come in. So
right.
We'll see. I am looking forward to seeing Pete on the sidelines, and I imagine after I watch that for about a minute, it'll be like watching the Blue Angels against the hazy blue sky and the hazy blue waters. I'll be moving on to something else.
Yeah, absolutely. It is preseason football after all.
Speaking of which, I've got a present for you, Groz. We don't have an in the news story today. We're going to end the show. We're going to end the show with the first time in I think almost a year. I've written a song for you.
You have.
Because I love you, Dave. I wrote a song. Now, I also want to, this is what's known as a tease. I want to remind folks that when we get into the first week of betting here in a couple of weeks, we'll sing the Groz with Gas betting fight song that I authored last year. But I've been noodling around this for a couple of weeks. I think I've got it down. Bear with me while I sing the ballad of Jed Grosby to you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Come and listen to my story about a man named Groz, biggest thing in Seattle since the dude they called the Boz. And then one day he was sitting on his ass. In through the door came a guy called Gas. Gas Man, that is. Real moron. Indiana idiot. Well, the next thing you know, Groz with Gas is on the air. They're sitting around the office and they're breaking all the chairs. The listeners all loved him, but the bosses disagreed because every time they talked to him, they both stunk of weed. Do 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 do. Now it's time to say goodbye to these two stumble bums. The more you listen to them, the more your brain gets numb. You're all invited back next week to this locality to get another 20 minutes of banality.